Are you ready to unleash your full potential and become unstoppable in your success and leadership?
Welcome to the Unleashed and Unstoppable podcast, where we provide powerful insights and strategies for coaches, corporate leaders, and entrepreneurs. I'm Lianne Carter.
And I'm Carol Register, and we're certified master neurocoaches who are passionate about helping you overcome your limiting beliefs and optimize your performance.
Each week, we'll be sharing actionable tips and strategies using neuroscience, from interviews with industry experts to solo episodes, to help you lead a life of power, purpose, and possibility on your own terms.
Join our community of like-minded individuals. Hit subscribe now, and let's be unleashed and unstoppable together. Hey, we are so excited to be here with you each and every week to bring you powerful information about leadership, neuroscience, wealth, burnout, and oh my goodness, it is the season of gratitude. If you're anything like I was in the past, I would get so busy. I would just be in the motions of it, getting the turkey cooked, getting the food, making sure I had everything, that I would actually forget about giving thanks. And I would sit down sometimes and, we would have a family gathering, and often somebody would say a prayer, and they'd be like, starting in on the thanks stuff. And I'd be like, oh, totally forgot.
It's the hustle and bustle, right? You just you get into this doingness of things, right? Like you're running through your to-do list, and then you're in the thick of it and you realize like, oh my goodness, like where did it all go? And things just happen so rapid. And especially when we begin to burn out, right? A lot of times this is what creates this happening. It's just that go, busy on the autopilot.
Yeah.
And I know for Carol and myself, like leaning into this thankfulness, this time of year, we give gratitude. And even for me up in Canada, right? Like as we head into the holidays, it is a time that we get to create a little bit more time for the thankfulness, the gratitude piece. And so
remind us of the Canadian Thanksgiving.
It is in October.
October, that's right. Yeah, so you're earlier than we are. And then in the USA, we're in November. So.
In fact, I was just going to say, when we're recording this, our Thanksgiving is actually coming up this weekend. So we are pre-recording this episode, but I think it's, wonderful Perfect. Timing that heading into Thanksgiving this weekend here in Canada. And then listeners, you get to listen to this episode during the American Thanksgiving time. So,
well, talk to us about how long you've had a gratitude practice and what goes on in the brain from a neuroscience perspective.
Ooh, that's a great question, Carol. How long have I had a gratitude practice for? It started after I read The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod, which we have mentioned Hal before, because I know that's part of how Carol and I got together in our neurocoaching community. And so I would say it was there. And then I picked up the 5-minute gratitude journal, the 5-minute journal. And then from there, it's completely evolved because, at that point it was me and Andrew actually had been practicing gratitude for quite a while. And I mean, I know for myself, I appreciated having the time that I got to dedicate to sitting down with a journal. Yeah. Now over time, now with 2 young ones, we found ways to integrate that. So the whole family gets to do it together. So before bed, at the dinner table. And what I found was it really invited me to stop, right, and interrupt those automated thoughts that are, we know like 90% more negative than positive. And it really invited me to stop and just be, right, and be mindful, be curious about, okay, what can I really think about in my day that I get to be grateful for and thankful for? So, and I know now, because we're neurocoaches, right, the dopamine that gets released in that completely shifts our, way of feeling, showing up. And I loved when I used to do it in the morning, how it just impacted my day, especially because I remember I was doing gratitude before my burnout. And I remember how it completely gave me this energy to walk into my day, even though I was feeling burnt out and exhausted. It gave me this, because of the release of the neurochemicals, it helped me, but also it was just in a way a Band-Aid solution because I was still operating from the thoughts that were contributing to what was
To
going
the
on internally
burnout.
to the burnout. Yeah. So I wanted to
Yeah.
preface that too, right? Like that's why we love gratitude because it's
Yeah.
this happy juice that gets released, right? And that can
Released.
really support you in
Well,
your day.
I think the important part there, especially speaking into dopamine, is sometimes you may be scrolling and you may get the impression that dopamine's bad because your Instagram scroll gives you dopamine, or your social media scroll, and or you're on a game, or so when you are able to shift it around where you're setting an intention about what you want to do, you're deciding in advance about who you want to be, and then you're doing coming from that, as you were saying, which is always so important to lean into, where there are ways to have dopamine hits that are very positive. And our first point here is elevation, right? So that is elevating you. That is putting you in a different energy. And there's a lot about manifestation, law of attraction. And we really want you to know that the neuroscience is not separate from this. It's all integrated. We all exist in a quantum field. And one of the other ways that gratitude benefits your brain is it's almost like an invisible barrier. It's not a real barrier against anxiety. So it's a practice that you start to practice. And when you start to practice it, we're going to talk about ways to make it even more effective so that you're able to stay in positive energy, in an elevated vibrational state, because everything is energy, everything in the universe. And this is an important part of the neuroscience practice that we do. It's our beliefs, our underlying beliefs that stop us. So maybe you have an anxiety and you haven't gotten to the root cause of what's going on in your subconscious that's creating this anxiousness. And your brain's working hard, giving you neurochemicals to stay in that anxious state. Gratitude is one of the ways that you can begin to elevate yourself out of that state and start to get those feel-good chemicals coming in and build that barrier against that anxiety so that you can then take a look at what's going on.
Well, I think that's why it was like doing all the things, right, with the gratitude and the affirmations, and yet not really getting to the root, the source of what was behind all of this.
Yeah.
And it's powerful now knowing the neuroscience behind the gratitude piece, because then it's a beautiful, like, I know I said Band-Aid, and it can also be looked at in a beautiful positive light, right? Because oftentimes what do we do with Band-Aids? Well, Band-Aids are there to protect a wound until it heals, and then you're good. And what I look at is that this gratitude piece, especially when you can get it, you can start to integrate it like throughout your day. So it becomes this it's
wired in then.
The wired in, right? But I was thinking like as a resource, right? As a go-to tool that you turn to when you are encountering and faced with obstacles, challenges throughout the day. Because, if you're like Carol and I, right, leader, like you are probably up against quite a lot of things throughout your day. And when you can step into gratitude and being grateful for that moment, or grateful for what is, like, even the fact that you're experiencing that obstacle, even though I know sometimes you're like, oh, why is that happening? But to be grateful for that, understanding that on the other side of that obstacle, the wall, whatever you're experiencing, that resistance, once you get through that and get over that, like there's such a breakdown creates a breakthrough, right? To get through that and to be grateful for that. And so, in hindsight, when you asked me at the gratitude, like I did gratitude because it was like part of this process, but I didn't fully understand gratitude until I understood the neuroscience. And now I use it differently as a tool, even with my daughters and even as a family, to be able to shift energy or to shift and refocus because of, those situations of high anxiety or or when situations occur, right? Especially, when you're tired and, you feel like it's been a long day and there's all these things are happening. When you can consciously shift into gratitude, it just shifts your whole way of being. You're experiencing the neurochemicals, and you can it just totally changes the outcome and what you're experiencing. And I think that's what for our can you tell I'm for our learners, I'm sorry, for our listeners,
for you listener.
Yeah. To use this as something that becomes a go-to, and to automatically have it as a go-to, understanding there is power behind gratitude. And Carol, you introduced me to these three words, right? Like this elevation, encouragement, and to then evolve, right? Like to work through that is really powerful. So Carol, what's your journey? So I got shared about my journey. I'm curious to know, like, did yours also start kind of understanding with, the Miracle Morning and the Savers, or has gratitude been around for you for longer than that?
Gratitude has been around for a long time in my life, but I wasn't mindful of it, and I wasn't practicing it on a regular basis. And I think that's been the real shift is, what you were talking about, shifting outcomes. That's the encouragement piece. So you're in a higher vibrational state, and then you're receiving a reward, and often a reward right away. So for me, it's been about learning that if I take the time to do the practices on an ongoing basis, I have this wiring built in. I have this tool, exactly what you were saying. And I think it really has changed my energy. It's changed the way I've felt about things. That shift has been very real, where, just taking a moment to appreciate things that I took for granted. I took a lot for granted. Life. I am so thankful to be alive. And when I'm mindful of being alive and this gift that I have, then even though I'm in my being, I utilize it different. And the action of gratitude brings me clarity. And action brings clarity. It'll bring up the limiting beliefs, like you were saying. We can start to have gratitude and even celebration for the breakdown, because we know that's the resistance and the breakthrough's coming. But it just puts you in this positive, elevated vibe, and it's made me very mindful of things that I wasn't appreciative for, and certainly with all of us going through COVID and all of that, and all of us on different health journeys, it's made me mindful. I've got air going in and out of my lungs right now. I've got my 5 senses. I can move my body at this point in my life. How thankful do I get to be for those things? So yeah, it's really encouraged me in receiving a reward in the shift, and made me mindful of things that I wasn't mindful of before.
And you have me think of something, for the listener too, because depending on, if you do happen to have a gratitude practice, or maybe gratitude isn't part of a routine that you have integrated into your life, is that it doesn't need to be complicated. Like, I feel that sometimes, yes, I did have like my structure with my 5-minute journal, and now it's, honestly, it's a time that I've created with my daughter at nighttime. We cuddle together, and then I ask her, like, what are you thankful for today?
It's so beautiful.
And I love it because, we're developing vocabulary. We're having that one-on-one connection time. I mean, just think about all the neurochemicals that are flowing between the connection that we're creating. So it's, the oxytocin and the dopamine and, the serotonin and all that together. And it's really just looking, thinking through your day, like, what are you thankful for that happened in the day? Or as you said, Carol, as you're waking up in the morning, you're thankful to be alive, right?
Yeah.
And so it's, the invitation is just to simplify it. Like, I just feel like there's so many things out there in terms of when it comes to gratitude, like it can easily become complicated. Yeah. And our invitation is keep it simple,
childlike, simple.
Yeah. And have this as, maybe it gets to be a sticky note in front of your computer, so that when you are having one of those moments and you're feeling frustrated, or there's judgment and there's all this happening, that you have that, like, okay, step into gratitude, lean into gratitude. And then it just help, just like with breathing techniques and things like that, right?
Tapping or anything that interrupts a thought, right? Yeah.
This can help as well, sort of interrupt that thought pattern, right? And then shift and then create a different outcome, different result from what you're doing.
I love that. I think it's so incredible what you're doing with your baby too, to connect with her and to start to give her this practice. Because when we see all this negativity in the world, sometimes, one of the things that's going on mental health wise is that people are not able to experience the feel good chemicals that they need in order to live elevated and be encouraged and evolve through their growth, right? And this brings us to growth. But when you're doing that as a practice, your body will adjust. You will start to create those pathways in your belief system, in your brain and your body for being able to experience those feel-good neurochemicals. And I think that's really important that you're doing that with your daughter, and how much is that needed, that she's getting these pathways built in at a very early age. And so I love that. Absolutely. And speaking of involvement, it's really about going from the elevated high vibration that gratitude puts us in, being encouraged by the immediate reward and shifts that it makes in our lives. And then it helps us to evolve and to grow in a much more powerful way, because, we're operating in this environment and we're creating the reality by doing this, being this. And I want to emphasize that one more time. It's so easy. I'm catching myself saying doing a lot. That's something for me to look at.
Yeah.
And listener, I want you to hear me in this, because it is a journey to be mindful of creating from being, in order for the doing to flow.
And
right?
That goes back to like how my gratitude practice started. It was because it was like part of, it was almost a checklist. And yes, I was experiencing positives from it, but it's where where I've made the conscious decision to lean into gratitude, right? As that is the choice of tool to use in that moment, that the experiences and what it creates has been so much more impactful than just feeling like, okay, I'm going to sit down this morning and I'm going to sit there with my journal, open up and go through it. Because that's so mechanical, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I love that you're driving that home, because it is so easy to get caught up in mechanical things. And that's why, I made the conscious decision, even with my daughters, and even as a family, like just as a family, to choose to step into that, to build that neural pathway of that practice, so that it becomes that choice versus feeling like this is something I have to do, right? And we don't. It may not happen every night, but I will say that it's something I look forward to, right? Like
80-20 rule.
Yeah. And so it took time. Like it really took time. And I don't know how many different types of gratitude journals I've also had. And, to the point that it's, I've got just a notes part on my phone, because it's like when something that comes up that I'm grateful for, thankful for, that's happened, I put it there. So it gets to be, I think we want to lean into it does get to be easy. And it's something that we invite you to choose to embark on. Like, even I'm thinking at this time of year, like for Thanksgiving, everyone sits around the table and they all say what they're thankful for, right?
Yeah.
And it feels almost mechanical in a way, versus like
feeling it
and having some fun with it, and not just, what are we thankful for this year or whatever, but just, what happened today? What happened this morning? What happened last week? Like, just for it to become more of an automated practice through your day, and your year.
I like the idea of bringing the feeling into it, because then it's a heart-brain connection, and even a heart-brain gut connection. And I've really been thinking of things recently in terms of threes, in terms of us being integrated beings. It's heart, mind, soul. It's heart, body. It's brain, body, and heart. It's brain, heart, brain, and gut brain. And I love the trifectas that we have, right? And Jason Nightingale is one of our guests who will be coming on, and he was using this terminology, and it was just amazing. Actually, I think he was already on. I'm lost a place in where we record at, but no big deal, right? The most important thing is that you just know, like Alex said, it can be really simple. Alex, what's our CTA on this? What's our call to action on this? Because it is a really beautiful practice to start to wire in and to feel good about, to be elevated, encouraged, and evolving in.
Well, one thing is to choose gratitude, right? Like to make a choice that you want to explore gratitude more, right? Not that it's coming from a feeling of like, oh, I have to do this or I should do this. Like, I choose gratitude. I choose to integrate more practice of gratitude, in my day, in my life, with my family, with my colleagues, with my team. Like, think about this, leader. Like, if you're with your team and you start like off a meeting with what are we grateful for? Like, just think about how that completely can shift the ways of being of your teams and those that you're leading. Right.
Yeah.
And so I know that that's something that I'm working on leading into. Like, I am so guilty about getting down to business. Like, Carol knows me. It's like, all right, let's go. And I want to acknowledge you, Carol. I mean, you are someone who's really supported and shifting me and just taking that moment of like, what are we grateful for? Like, just that connection piece, right? Starting with connection. That's what I've learned, I think, in my journey, is that gratitude also creates connection. And so the choice. So our invitation to you, listener, is to choose to be open to looking at exploring how you get to create more gratitude in your life and integrating that more on a regular basis. Then letting go of judgment. So this is part of the process too. Like, when we're feeling the judgment, right? When we're feeling the heaviness, choosing to lean towards gratitude, which will then help work past that and work through that.
Because judgment can block us from a state of gratitude, and the being is the state of being in it, right?
Yeah. And so, and that's why it's all about the tool. That's why Carol and I are all about the tools. We want to provide you with neurohacking tools to really support you in elevating, your leadership, in your finances, in your health, your wealth, your relationships, wherever you're showing up, because that, it is about intercepting these neural pathways that they're automated. And there's something here that came to me, Carol, that I guess is kind of a bit of a bonus that came to me as we were talking here. And it kind of links me to when I talked about connection, how leaning into gratitude also creates connection. This is more of an actual like action step that I invite you to take is, I love you to pick up your phone or go into your email, and I want you to send a message of gratitude to someone in your life.
I love this. I absolutely love this. Yeah. It's a beautiful practice. And, what kind of connections could you reestablish or deepen by doing this, right?
Yeah.
We're all connected, whether we realize it or not. In the quantum field, that's what we can see. But this is an actual way of being intentional about that. And it'll be fun to decide in advance too. Who am I going to send gratitude today? I love that.
And my invitation is to not overthink it. Just honestly, just whoever's on your mind, you're thinking of, maybe it's the next person that you happen to see, online or on your social feed or, in the hallway or outside, and just send them that message. And I want to lean into, it might feel uncomfortable, and that's okay. Because if this is not something that you do on a regular basis, it probably will feel comfortable. And you may even, I invite you to be curious about the reaction that you're going to take. I've done this a few times, I've been creating and getting into this a little bit more. If I'm out, I'm thinking of someone to message them right away. This is a new muscle that I am working on. I feel, Carol, you are so brilliant at this. Like,
Thank
Carol, I
you.
feel that you were someone, I mean, you've sent me beautiful messages, and I know for me, this is a new muscle that I am working on and developing. And it's what I'm noticing with gratitude is it's the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah. There's reciprocity to it, even if it doesn't come directly from the person that you are giving gratitude to or having thanks for, it comes back in spades. It really does. And that's the law of reciprocity in action. And I love that.
And if someone says gratitude to you, because I know that we're really quick to wanting to be like, oh, is just receive.
Yeah, that's
say
a great
thank
tip.
You.
Yeah.
I receive, say thank you. I'm sure, Carol, this is a whole other podcast episode of like receiving that we could probably dive into.
Yeah.
But as we, especially our American, if you're American, you're listening to this and it's your Thanksgiving, like we're out there.
We're all North Americans.
Right. And receive. And, happy Thanksgiving. I think that's where we want to end on today. And we're thankful for you. We are so thankful for you. And thank you for sharing this podcast with, the women leaders in your lives. I know we also have male listeners out there as well. And so to all the listeners, thank you. Thank you, listener.
Yeah, thank you.
And thank you for your comments and your feedback to us. We and absolutely love the reviews and the shares. And, we see the listenership go up and up and up. And we know that is thanks to you. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much. So we're going to leave you today with being elevated, encouraged, and evolving, right, Alex?
Yeah. And we can't wait, connect with us on socials. Let's hear how maybe a decision you've made about gratitude practice, things that you are grateful and thankful for. And we will see you in our next episode. Okay. Anything else you want to add? Carol, you look like you wanted to say something before we wrap up today.
And let us know that if there's anything that you want us to cover that we're not covering, we want to hear from you and we want to know what you want to hear, especially as you are being wonderful, wildly ambitious leaders in the world. And that's it. I thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Along with Alex, Lianne.
We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye. Hey there. Hi there. We're so excited to let you know as we finish up here about our Black Friday special. This are gifts just for you, created especially for you. And the one I have coming up is about creating your aligned wealth vision. Why? Because what difference does wealth make if it's not in alignment with who we are? And if you're, bringing in money and expecting that to bring you happiness, well, this is really to help you create a vision for what you truly want. So I invite you to jump in, grab this Black Friday, available only right now. And it's going to be an amazing Black Friday price. And Alex, Lianne, I know that you have a Black Friday special that's going to be the perfect accompaniment and follow up to this. So would you share?
Yes. Well, what is a vision if we don't take action on it, right? So I have my leadership clarity code, which really helps you take your vision that you have created and then put it into bite-sized actionable steps. So you know exactly how you're taking action to create the result of the vision that you set forth. So I love this. I mean, this clarity code was like the thing that allowed me to still stay productive when I was 8 months pregnant and start a business. It has helped me postpartum. It has helped me continuously show up, move the needle forward, have exact clarity on exactly the steps that I get to take. And it's also helped me manage multiple projects all at once. So, because we know that you've got a big vision. We know that you've got lots going on, and this leadership clarity code really helps you gain clarity. There's some bonus resources in there, some great tools. And I even shared in there my Irresistible Bold Leadership playlist to help you get motivated, pumped up when you are putting your vision into action.
Ooh, I love that. The playlist. Yes, you've got an awesome playlist. So we invite you to dive in and get these things. Black Friday available only at this time. So we look forward to seeing you next week, and we're excited to bring you more gifts that will advance and accelerate your goals and your dreams and help you write your story. Ciao for now.
Bye. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Unleashed Unstoppable podcast with your hosts, Alexandra Carter and Carol Register.
If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and review and subscribe.
That's all for this episode, Wildly Ambitious Leaders. See you next week.